Welcome to Door County Stories. In each episode of this series, we'll hear the stories of various Door County residents, all told in their own words.
Some may be familiar, or you may be encountering them for the first time, but they all make up the vast mosaic of people who live in our community and help make Door County such a unique and interesting place to live.
All of the people you'll meet in this series have their own distinctive and individual stories to tell.
In each episode, after our introduction, their voice is the only voice you will hear.
It's my pleasure to introduce to you my conversation with Ram Rojas. Ram and I have been friends for over 20 years. We in Door County are lucky that after all his international traveling and experiences, that he has chosen to live and work here. He is truly a Door County treasure. He is a wonderful storyteller with much passion for his work and for his life. I hope you enjoy my conversation with him as much as I did. I present to you a conversation with Ram Rojas.
I would tell them that I am a very multifaceted artist, that I was classically trained, that I have paintings around the world, and that for the last decades, I focused on painting Door County and the beauty of our everyday life. But I paint just about anything in any media, including sculpture and, well, you know, muralism now. Oh, I landed in Door County by an invitation from a man, I think his name was John Hines, and I have worked with him. I had cared for his gallery and painted in Key West. He had galleries, I don't know how many places, but he had opened one in Shorewood Village. That was my first home. I cared for the gallery downstairs. He brought me here to paint a series of Door County trademarks. And he picked them. Obviously, I didn't know Door County at all. I was in Los Angeles when I got the call. And I was considering other places to go. And he actually invited me earlier. So they just came over, did those paintings for him. He left, the gallery left, and I stayed. I fell in love. By the time I was done with the series, I was in love with the place, with the people, and I was never comfortable in LA, so that was it. I didn't plan to stay. I just stayed as I felt comfortable. I was born in Caracas, Venezuela, at the house where I was born in the house where my family lived, because my mom didn't have a chance to run to the hospital. So, and my aunt was a nurse, so that was it. I came out in a hurry. And there were 6 of us. My dad passed away when I was about 5. So it was us and our mother trying to keep us going. What I remember is how beautiful the land, and I had become to appreciate it more and more and more. When I think what are my best memories are me hiking the Avila Mountain that separates the Caribbean from the Valley of Caracas. And you could hike it, and I hiked it when I was like 15 in 2 days. And then you get to the beach, which is gorgeous. Venezuela's got heavenly beaches and all sorts of weather. Caracas is 75 and 85 degrees all year round. So winter's 75, summer's 85. You never get, because it's right on the equator. So, and that was my childhood starting. I started painting right away. I had a knack for art, and people noticed really early. So I did a lot of artwork as a child too. I went back only once to see my mother, where she married very old. So people thought she was my grandmother. She raised all her siblings before. She was one of those that just incredible spirit and energy, and she wanted everybody educated. So she put all her younger siblings through school, and then she raised us. She got married and raised us. So I I don't know that it was a very common childhood, but that's what happened to me. That's how I developed. When I went to see her, she was almost 100 years old. Not quite, not quite. She died when I was almost 100 years, but I went to see her when she was quite frail. She was still at the house, and that I had been in touch with her more than anyone else in my family, or solely with her. I called her every week religiously, every week, whatever I was. In Italy and France, when I was in India, I called, which was difficult from India, and she could barely hear me, but I called. I made the point to call. And when she was dying, I went to see her, and it was both very foreign, and part of it was the same, even though I had been gone already for a very, very long time. And I had traveled and lived in many places. In a way, they were very familiar. Um, I saw parts of my family, not all of them. The country was already deteriorating. I don't know if you want to talk about that, but the country's changed. And I went with a couple of my adopted American family here. My sister Lauren and a friend Joe went with me, just like they wanted to go for fun, and I needed them for moral support because I didn't know how I was going to feel recollecting all my childhood. And it was all right. It was fun, but it was really great to have them. What surprised me about being here, when I first arrived, I I came to Los Angeles, and I was just a kid, and they sent somebody to pick me up from the boarding school that I was going to go to and live with and paint for, a printing company that had a boarding school where they trained everybody, and they were handpicking kids from around the world. They had some type of talent. They saw me painting at the Academy of Arts, Fine Arts in Caracas, Venezuela, the National Academy, which, believe it or not, was a pretty advanced art school, fine art school at the time. Venezuela was very cosmopolitan and international because there was oil money. So it wasn't, it was quite the world with people from everywhere. And anyways, they were down there and they saw my art and they asked me if I wanted to come to the States. And it was as good as, any. I said yes, and they sent for me. And when I arrived here, okay, I'll say it. The first thing I thought, as we were driving back, and this nice person is talking to me, I thought, wow, this place is ugly. I'm sorry, but that's what I remember. I thought this is a very ugly city. And we were driving from the airport on Venice Boulevard, which is just LA. LA is, I don't know. It's not the prettiest place in the world I've been to, but that became my home. So that was my first impression, and I immediately started to paint. They had an atelier group of artists that they handpicked, like I said. We had artists. There was a Jewish woman, a couple of Americans, one from Iowa, Des Moines, and one from Colorado. And there was a Jewish American, another woman. There were a lot of Jewish people. I don't know why, but there were. who else? There was a French girl. Then I came from Venezuela, and a Chinese man. I think those were the very first painters for this company, and we were given everything we needed. I never been able to reproduce what I got from them. We had our own studio right in front of the main headquarters, where we can view everything. We had to read the Vedic scriptures. The knowledge of the Vedas, the ancient Hindu knowledge, which is actually quite widespread now with the culture of the Vedas is quite widespread in the world in many different ways. It wasn't so much when I remember back then, what I remember. California has always been. But anyways, I started painting with them, and we learned from each other, which was really beautiful. And if we saw an artist that we wanted to know, we would ask permission, and they will hire that person for us to teach us. So our school was a very Renaissance place, an atelier. I was good at certain things, so I taught the younger ones that came in, the newer artists. We were always trying people, and some of them just moved on, and some stayed and painted too for the books. So I have paintings that are very, very well spread because they're in print all over the world in many different languages. Is very scholastic Hindu books. Hindu books are a scholar type. There's not a lot of philosophical New Age thought that's always associated with Hinduism, but it's very old school orthodox. The person who translated the books and made the commentaries was a scholar, a very old school scholar. So that I'm proud of, because there was so much hippiedom going on. I don't want to put anybody down. There was a lot of other stuff going on with the New Age world and with the. Hi, Rob. Oh, sorry. Okay. Well, for one thing, it fulfilled my dream. I think Door County back then was my dream since I was a child was to live somewhere in a European small town. Don't ask me why, but that was my childhood dream. Whenever I told my mom, she looked at me like, okay, whatever. But when I came here, this place was the closest thing America can offer to a very sweet European, Scandinavian little town. Everything was a lot more organic. And everything that everybody was making, I'm sure you remember, Stephanie, was made by hand, by their hands, and everybody was proud of what they made. And I'm not talking about just art, food, people exchange food. And maybe that's the people I fell into, the groups I fell into, but that's what I experienced. I painted a lot outdoors. My first paintings were all plein air. So when I hear the word plein air, I think, well, yeah, painting outdoors. That's what we did. Some of the Door County pieces, the watercolors were painted sitting right in front of it. So it was, now that you're asking, and I'm trying to think, it was like a dream come true in a way, in many ways. Very, very happy. I was extremely happy, and I painted a lot. And I carried a sketchbook with me where I sketched everything that I wanted. And I like portraiture, so I sketched a lot of my friends. I was also having a childhood, so I was running around having lots of fun with a lot of good friends who are still friends, some of them. But I would sketch them. I had a whole sketchbook that was more like a diary because all my friends who were in it ended up in it whenever I felt like sketching them. And I painted a lot of portraiture. I painted a lot of homes, people's dream homes, landscapes. So the way I translated it, I was coming back from a very spiritual, strict lifestyle that spoke about the divine and everything being related to the divine and God being the center of our lives and how we can connect through with meditation and yoga and living a life of bhakti, which was devotional yoga, a certain type of yoga that is more recommended for this era that we live in, which is Kali Yuga, is the era of uh, Quero. That's what it is. There are 4 yugas. They're like millions of years old. And the first one was perfect. Everybody was happy and intelligent, and they had all their capacity, mental, spiritual. And now we're degraded. That's that was my belief. And in Kali Yuga, people need to practice Bhakti yoga because that's a yoga that's easy for the kind of brains we have now and our attention span, and it's focused on devotion. So it was beautiful. I loved it. And so I came here with that mentality. So everything I saw it through that lens. I saw, to me, the people were, somebody walked into my studio in Egg Harbor and asked me to paint them, and they just got married. And to me, they were divine. There were sparkles of that. Believe it or not, I don't know if it sounds too far-fetched, but that's how I saw it. And Door County was just a spiritual place for me, as it was. I looked really young, so I made a lot of collegiate friends, Lawrence and whatnot. And if we were out partying or sailing overnight or whatever, and I ended up staying at the house, the family will have breakfast for me made in the morning. I never had that sort of experience. To me, it was way simpler than the world I came from, but it was so especially inspiring from the standpoint of an artist and painting. Okay, let's see how I put this. I've always felt an outsider. I left Venezuela because I didn't fit. I knew it that I had to go, and I knew it very, very early. In southern France. Don't ask me why. I read a lot as a kid, so I'm assuming something got me an idea that I'll be very happy in a village, not a big metropolitan, not Paris, nothing like that. So the outsider thing was like who part of the way I felt all my life, and I was always looking for a connection. So that's probably why I traveling with a group of Hindu community that had so much money and took us everywhere in the world, and we were specializing on a certain type of art. We kind of created a new style, Renaissance art with a Hindu theme, and we met some of the most important artists in India when we were there in an artistic tour. All that stuff, I never felt like I belong in any of those places. I was just sort of like a person who had life was happening to. I didn't have time to meditate. Wow, this is cool. Look what's happening. It was happening, and it was happening fast. And I was busy painting and living and experiences. So I didn't give it a lot of thought and I didn't recollect a lot, record a lot. Plus, we were told we were servants of the lights of the divine, so we weren't the important ones. We were serving. The experience of coming to Door County was the opposite for me. I felt I belonged. My friends, the people that I met, the people I still friends with, that Door County thing. I don't know. Stephanie knows. You just felt part of it. I still see people that come and fall in love with the place, and they start talking about that family and this family and how they met this. I did that. I had all these friends, and they all wanted me, and they wanted to do stuff, and have this very sentimental part of me that still to the day adores those experiences that I had. Going to Thanksgiving to my friend's house, my first roommate up north in Sister Bay. After I moved out of Ephraim, I rented a waterfront house cabin, and I got a roommate from a born and raised person, Door County. So, and they adopted me. So that was a whole incredibly, very deep and beautiful experience. Who transformed me. It had a transformational, and it continued in Door County. So yes, I do feel somewhat, but not. I don't feel rejected or not wanted. Never did. And you know what? Since the issue is definitely out, and I always felt the color thing, and all over the world. LA was to me. I don't mean to be political. This is part of my story, okay, and the way I perceived it. It just shocks me that people think that racism didn't exist. Since now you can talk about it, well, yeah. Back then, if I even mentioned it to my friends or something came out, or we saw a movie that touched on the subject and it was really direct. I remember watching it with my artist friends, and they all turned around, and it was an Australian friend there too. They all said, "Well, that was weird." And I have been deeply touched by the movie. I saw the truth and what was being said. I think the movie was called Ragtime. This is a long time ago, but that describes my experience with being an outsider. It was more that than anything else. Well, in Door County, I never felt different. Isn't that strange? I never felt different. The people that I had put with, that I ended up with, I was just one more. Ram was just part of the group, the tribe, the people, the family. So, of course, that probably made a big difference of me staying. Door County is gorgeous. I thought Ephraim is one of the most beautiful places I've been into in the world. And but I could have lived anywhere I wanted to if I tried. So I did show that the people had a lot to do with it, the way I was inspired to paint, and the artists. I approached some of my favorite artists became the people, and I had no idea who they were, not a clue. I was just looking at all the art and going to the galleries, and right away, bang, Topo Man. I thought it was unbelievable, and met him. I'm just looking at art. No, I don't know. He's a cool guy. I had no idea who he is. So I picked Topo Man. I liked Miller. And who else was one of my favorites at the beginning? Peterson was great. I loved him, but I didn't feel the need to approach him for whatever reason. I was very emotionally touched by Topo Man's watercolors. So let's focus on him. He's just passed away, and he's in my mind. Anyways, Topo Man, I went over and I introduced myself. Well, we were just like old souls. So we just became really good friends. And I needed somebody to look. I really need somebody to critique my paintings. I think every artist probably does. I shouldn't talk for anyone else. I grew up with an atelier of groups that we critique our artists. We had critique meetings, like 2 or 3 between every painting. We all sat together and put all the art out, and we make comments. And positive, enlightening, and it was really helpful. So I started doing that. I was used to that, and I figure I asked the Topo Mans if I can bring my paintings. They're like, sure. So it will be a thing. We sat in front of my paintings, eating German food and laughing and talking. And I mean, Ellen was the delight. Ellen. And I did that for a while. I did that with Miller a little bit, but I was shy. I don't know why. The Topo Mans they were easy for me. I don't know. Personally, it was something I did out of inspiration at the time, but I tend to be more on the shy side. So I forced myself to approach these people. I went to one of Peninsula Art School's gatherings with Gerhard Miller, and he asked us to bring a piece. He asked everybody to bring a piece. Okay, this I'm proud of. and I don't repeat a lot, but I had my watercolor of the Fudge House. I was working on that at the time. And you know how Miller spoke real loud, and then so he's going through all the pieces and talking about what everybody bought. He saw my watercolor of the Fudge House, and he went, "Well, this guy should be teaching us." So that's my proud moment. And after the class, he called me. He said, "Come to see me anytime you want." And that was I regret not having taken full advantage of that invitation, but he meant it and he loved me. And so you see, I wasn't an outsider. There were the art community who embraced me, who loved my art, who really praised it, and those were the people I would look up to. And then there was all these friends and families, this that I never experienced anywhere else. Family, you know, mine. I'm sorry to say it, we didn't have that kind of. Then I went to live with a boarding school company, which was more people my age and working for a theme and living like monks. And then Door County was like family. Oh, this is what regular people live like, normal people. And I loved it. I just loved it. And then eventually it just became home. It just happened gradually. So not really an outsider, and yes, not as bad as other places. I loved it. I don't know if in one nutshell, in every discipline that you just described, I understood the question before as being as far as art in my painting, and then I thought in Door County, and I went back to the times when I painted with other artists. I taught, I teach occasionally. How wonderful it is to bring a group of artists together and exchange ideas and talents. So it's wonderful. I need it. I need it like blood, and I don't ever take it for granted. Whenever we get together, something wonderful is for sure happening. That's why I pursued artists that will critique my artwork, and I have had small groups of artists who go out together painting, or they gather to paint together. Um, I've done that sporadically with different artists in different places in Door County. Outside of growing up with a group of artists, which we did everything together and we painted together, so I was used to that. I was never alone. Now in Door County, I do see us, maybe it's me, to tend to want to the reason we are here. We want to experience solitude and beauty, and sometimes that requires the magic of aloneness, of being with nature. It becomes a different thing, having time alone, and that's growing in me. I still need to be with other artists, and murals. Since I started again, I did some murals early in life, but since this mural renaissance is taking place around here and around the country, I think I found the beauty of having to work with others, because murals are immense. They're my painting is mine. Even though I like to have a critique, it's mine. It's my own. I'm gonna do what I want. Where my murals involve community and involve other artists, because you can only paint so much. So you end up working with others. It's reminded me how beautiful contributing with others it is, and how helpful it is, and how positive it is for, well, in the case of mural, for a community. Because I have stopped people. I stopped mothers that are grocery shopping, and they got their bags and they're talking to me. And after a while, I'm like, "You paint too. You would love to paint, don't you? Put those groceries down here." And she painted in my mural. And I've done that with kids. I've done that with when it feels right. It's not planned, kind of. But I find it really contributes a lot to the mural, as well as sometimes somebody who or something that wasn't planned to be there ends up in the mural because of the influence that it has the person is very special or represents something symbolically that means a lot. I did it with the Bailey's Harbor mural and with the ones in Wittenberg. So I'm trying to record history and the history of what's right there in front of me, and what made it happen, and the people and the places are all very connected. So it's in that way it's very unique. It's very beautiful to work with others, and I don't know how anyone could not contribute. And actually, I miss it a little bit. Right now, I don't have a group, so if you know anybody. I will first give him a big hug before talking, and I will hold him. And I don't know how little this person is, but I will rub his head and I will rock him. And then I'll tell him that everything is okay, that things work out, that there will be rough times, and the world is full of unexpected realities that take place, but there is also so much beauty in it. And there is a very powerful spiritual component that keeps humanity alive that he should take shelter on, which he did. I was a very faithful kid as far as the spirituality, but I would say that to him, and then I would joke with him, knock him on the head, and tell him that things can be a lot of fun. That life is going to be fun as well. Then I will try to remove his fears. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Sure, I miss the theater. I don't know why I didn't get involved in Door County, except going to see it and enjoying it. It just wasn't. But the Isadora Company, I almost, because I was friends with some of them, but it never came my way. But theater has been in my life since I was a teenager. I have done acting, and I found out that it was a really comfortable place for me to be. Except the actor's life was really, the actors that I knew and the lifestyle was scary to me. I didn't think I would. I thought I would go somewhere where I couldn't. But I did very professional theater early. I actor, and every time I did, and I did in Venezuela before coming here, so I was 17 years old, and it was professional. I did in Los Angeles. I helped with I started helping with makeup and helping in whatever I could because it was part of the Hindu community, and we put shows, and they had a theater company that put plays for the guests that would come, which was hundreds of people every Sunday. And I ended up acting, one of the very powerful roles, and people loved it, and I made people laugh. So I discovered a wonderful place for my emotions that don't otherwise get expressed, and I could lose myself. I don't have to be shy. I could be as raw as I want to because I'm acting. It's not me. So it was really great to lose yourself in that. And I missed that for a long time, but it's been so long. I did it in Italy too. I only acted for very short in a very small part, but I helped with the company's arrangements and productions and putting it together and the costumes and the makeups, and it was exciting. I loved it. I really enjoyed it. And I can tell you a really cute story, and you don't have to put it in there, but if you have the patience, because I love it. When my daughter and my wife, the company sent for them. They didn't know how long I was going to be in Italy or what would happen. So they were trying to keep us in Europe. I was invited to stay in France for permanently, but I couldn't because my wife at the time didn't want to live anywhere but in the United States. She was from New York. So, but they were there with me temporarily, and they gave us a place. And my daughter was like a little. She learned to walk and speak in Italy, as she was very chubby, cute, and so they wanted her to play Lord Krishna as a baby, which is a divine, very divine aspect of the god, or one of the most popular gods in India. And so we painted her blue and put the makeup and a little curly wig and a feather, and she had, the poor baby. And her mother put it on the stage and rehearsed with her, and her mother would be hiding, that part of the theater where you're below the orchestra and the director, everybody's below making signs. So her mother would be underneath. She'd be alone on the stage with all these people, and her mother would go like this, and she'll laugh and be really cute. So it was perfect. Well, the day of the big performance, it was like 5,000 people there, and it's dark. It's way darker than it had been. And she could tell there's a lot of people there. So they placed her in the middle of the stage. And she didn't look at her mother. She just went like this and went, whoa! It broke down crying. And you heard like 5,000 people go, oh, nobody cared. They just thought it was so cute. So that I always wanted to tell. And then in Los Angeles, I did plays. And when I came here, it just it didn't happen to me. So I have that much experience with it. I would love to practice. I would love to be part of it in anywhere in which, at this point in my life, that I could be useful somehow. Doesn't matter what it is. About three and a half. I didn't learn French because I was surrounded by too many Americans. So the way I learn languages is that if I'm left in a country and I can communicate and I learn it, I pick it up just like that. And I was picking up French, but I was around a lot of English-speaking people. It wasn't forced. In Italy, I was left there alone for a while. So people were shocked. In less than 3 months, I was speaking fluently and communicating, and with a Napolitan accent and everything. People thought I was Italian. And in the United States, well, I already knew a little English, so they were also shocked. I picked up English really fast. I thought about that one, and I don't know how many people know that I was a monk, a Hindu monk, for all those 12 years. The whole time I was traveling in Europe and in India, I was living like a Trappist monk, even married. It was strict. It was, we meditated and did yoga and ate vegetarian, no eggs, no fish. And that was my life for the whole period. No hair. I had shaved head, and I wore robes. Yeah. Not as much, but I do. Back then, it was so easy because everybody did it. Very powerful. And now they're finding out the scientifically the power and the incredible benefits of yoga and meditation. And that's one thing I changed in Door County a lot culturally. The Hinduism and the New Age was very ubiquitous. In Los Angeles, in California, everybody was into it. Everybody had a guru. And but here, I hid all my Hindu paintings. I didn't tell anybody that I painted for the Bhagavad Gita. I didn't show anybody my Hindu art. Of course, I wanted to blend in. I didn't want to look weird. And now, Rasa came with their music. That was a big change. The couple, you remember? The husband still lives here. They broke up, but they brought this beautiful devotional bhakti yoga music. And he's a genius. It's Hans Christian, lives in Sturgeon Bay. So when they came to Door County, I couldn't believe that we had Bhakti yoga being sung at the Teramini Playhouse at that building and all over Door County. And then I found out that she was a friend of mine from Los Angeles. I've forgotten. She didn't paint for the books, but she did devotional art. And I went to visit her, and she had the whole Hindu altar in her house in Sister Bay. And I see this book. You know how the Bible, when people pray to a book, the book gets all old. She had this very old, beat up version of the Bhagavad Gita, which is the Son of God for millions in the East. It's like the Bible of the East. It's originally in Sanskrit. She had it open, and I closed it, and it had my painting on the cover. So she was blown away. We became dear friends. But then, since then, I have noticed how yoga, Sanskrit words, meditation, all that stuff, massage therapy, vegetarianism, health foods, all that stuff is related to, and it's all over in Door County now. And I'm sure it's not just here, but that changed a lot in the peninsula since I've been here. So I'm proud of my paintings. I put them in shows. I tell people about it. Sanskrit was a half. I only learned chants. I knew the Upanishad by heart. I probably could still recite it if I practice, which is a long book. A little bit, yeah. It was protected. There was a beauty to it. I don't think any of us were made for it. I think it was way too advanced and strict. Most people that I know are not there anymore, and the ones that still I know they are around the world have a more of a their own version. They have they work outside, and they don't dress in robes all the time. They have a life that adjusts to being Hindus, more like Christians are. They're not monastic anymore. Back then it was so strict, and we were young. We were kids. So it was beautiful. There was a very beautiful component to be protected and directed, and you know, and given something so beautiful like that philosophy to go by. And that has been an issue, a life issue for me. I'm extremely sensitive, and it's been real clear that it's been there. But you just don't. You start to feel like you're crazy because your friends don't see it, and they love you, and you see they love you, and you start to think, well, maybe maybe it's me. And so to see what's happening right now, and to see that it's caused by extreme pain, and then finally what I thought I would never see, that the white people are finally fed up, and they're like joining in. And so I don't talk about it a lot, but this morning during breakfast it came out, and so I find that interesting. And I spoke more. I usually just really don't talk about it, but it does hurt to see it. I was very hurt in LA, and it was a community full of people from everywhere, but you felt it very strongly. It was there, especially through the police department. And of course, I don't want to criticize that. I was pretty shy, and I felt in a country, that it really wasn't my own. I didn't know if I would live here forever. So I prefer not to be part of controversy. It's just not in me. I think the way I contribute is by being me. I came up to believe that. And I did go to the Black Lives Matter gathering in Sturgeon Bay. And the conversation this morning was about how we have friends that are, what, racism? I don't see, what do you mean? That's just a political Marxist story that people are making up, the people that eat children and do satanic rituals. And so That's me. That's me being sarcastic. Nobody says that in the conversation. That's just me thinking how some of the people that I hear. So you put it in the back of your head and you try to grow a thicker skin, and you just live hurt. You just get used to living hurt, and kind of treated it, But then you realize that women have gone through it, that there have been so many different aspects that it's like, oh well, it's just part of the growth of humanity and how we have developed. And I see the blacks as a incredible example of forgiveness and growth, which probably makes some of my friends think I'm mad because they think, wow, the five and they did this and they're scared of them. Well, I see the example that they have given, and I can name dozens, but they're coming out of obscurity right now. So you probably know who I'm talking about. A lot of the people who have shown an example of spiritual growth. They're so advanced. And because they had to, because they grew up in pain, and their parents were slaves, which I can't even imagine. Uh, so I got really way carried away, but that's what I see in Door County. It's not just Door County. It's happening in the world. People are seeking. People with spiritual power have spoken. I think I've been affected by it. I honestly believe that, and you can tell me, oh no, I think you're wrong, because I did get a lot of opportunities in my life that I did not take advantage of it, and I have had the chance to do what I love, but I think I am an unexploited source of, I have more in me that I could have given if it would have, it had to be used. That it hasn't. I had culture that could have been shared, knowledge and other things like that. Speaking, I don't mean to blow my horn. It's just a lot of us do, and probably a lot of women feel like that, and a lot of people of color and blacks for sure. They're an unexploited source. So I'm trying to make it so it doesn't sound egotistical. But speaking about me in person, I think I had a lot more potential that it didn't get used. And all I wanted to do is live a peaceful life in a small town. So I wasn't gonna push for that. Whatever I've given, it's just sort of happened. It's not because I was trying too hard.